II came to an end 78 years ago. Over 16 million Americans served in the war, and less than 120,000 are alive today. News 4's Kelsey Anderson brought 4 of them together to hear their remarkable stories of survival and what they would like younger generations to know. On a recent Tuesday afternoon, Channel 4 studios had a whole lot of history in one room. Meet Tech Sergeant Casey Bukowski, Army Air Corps. Staff Sergeant Dr. John B. Long, Army. Private First Class Bill Gosh, Marine Corps. And Staff Sergeant Natalie Askow, also United States Marines. These 4 are between 96 and 100 years old. The eldest, Yaskow. She followed her brother to the Marines.
He was my buddy.
Her parents didn't want her in harm's way, so on her 21st birthday, when she no longer needed their permission, she enlisted.
And my parents read it the next day in the paper. So I'm afraid they saw it at the breakfast table.
She finished boot camp and went to Parris Island in 1944 for an accounting job. The women then enlisted in order to take the desk job of a man, so those men could enter combat.
That had strictly been a man's world down there. But it changed. You know, they got used to us, and then found out that we were handy people to have around, too.
Casey Bukowski tried to join the Marines.
I wasn't big enough, they said, to join the Marine Corps.
At 5'5", Bukowski found his role in the Army Air Corps, fitting into small spaces on B-17 bombers. But on one fateful day, the Germans hit his plane.
He hit the oxygen tank. We had a big oxygen tank inside our airplane, and that blew that up, and of course that caught fire and blew out part of the plane.
Out of a crew of 10, only 3 would survive.
When I came to, I was on my back. I was looking at the ceiling of the plane, and I did notice that we were on our way down.
In and out of consciousness, Bukowski grabbed a parachute.
How I got out, I don't know.
But on the ground, he was in enemy territory, in Germany.
My back hurt, my legs hurt, and I couldn't walk. I just stumbled.
His eye was also badly hurt. 3 German farmers grabbed him.
They kind of roughed me up, let's say. And there was this old lady, and I call her the Frau of the house. She was pushing him around, screaming at him, yelling at him, and even wrestling with him to leave me alone.
The German military took him to a local hospital to patch him up. He would become a prisoner of war.
I kind of kept to myself. I kept a low profile, let's say.
He was finally liberated by General Patton's army 14 months later.
If I had taken another step, I wouldn't be here today.
Bill Gosh has his own harrowing stories from war. Between 1942 and 45, the Marine was sent all over the Pacific. On 3 separate occasions, he came close to never coming home.
So anyhow, the ramp drops, and I'm talking to some guy next to me. I have the slightest idea who he was. But we're talking, ramp drops down, he jumps off the ramp. I looks over, here's the guy laying face down. No water.
That was on Guam. On Okinawa, he says he was ambushed by 9 Japanese soldiers. He made it out alive.
All of a sudden, bang! On my left knee, you could have hit me with a baseball bat.
Gosh says he was offered a Purple Heart when his knee was hit by shrapnel on Okinawa. He told his lead, give it to someone else. Dr. John Long is a Purple Heart soldier. During his senior year of high school, his life would forever change.
came home from school one day and my mother handed me a little card and she said, "You've got something here from Uncle Sam." It was my draft notice.
Within 30 days, he was on his way. He was being trained to invade Japan. Instead, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So he was sent to Germany.
We were scattered all through Germany to replace all of those combat soldiers that were waiting to come home.
He ended up in the medical detachment. He said if he was drafted just 6 months prior, he doesn't know if he'd be here today. So he came home thankful and ready to give back. He went to chiropractic school with his GI Bill and would spend the rest of his life helping other vets.
I want to do everything I could to make life easier for them and do what I could to help those soldiers.
At the end, I asked all four, what is your message to the younger generations?
Patriotism is at its lowest ebb in the history of our nation. And I'm concerned about that because I often think about, while God spared my life, 400,000 young kids never came back home. Never came back home. So we could have the freedoms that we have here today.
Gosh and Bukowski said they didn't put their lives on the line for young people to not live their lives to the best of their ability.
We must never allow it not to be remembered what they sacrificed and what they've done, because they are America at its very best.